A murder in Georgia. A man sentenced to die. But what if the killer got away? This is the real story of Troy Anthony Davis, a man whose case ignited international protests, divided the American legal system, and raised one terrifying question. Did the state of Georgia execute an innocent man? August 19th, 1989, Savannah, Georgia. The night air was heavy and humid. At a Burger King parking lot near a Greyhound bus station, a violent altercation broke out. A homeless man named Larry Young was being attacked by someone during an argument. Off-duty police officer Mark McPhail, a 27-year-old father of two, rushed in to intervene. Seconds later, 2 gunshots echoed through the night. Officer McPhail fell to the ground. He was shot once in the chest and once in the face, never even drawing his weapon. He died at the scene. Witnesses claim the gunman was a young black man wearing white. Within 24 hours, the police named a suspect, Troy Anthony Davis, age 20. The arrest and what went wrong. Troy Davis turned himself in days later, denying all charges. But the Savannah police believed they had their man. There was no physical evidence connecting Davis to the crime. No gun was ever found. No DNA. No fingerprints. Yet prosecutors pressed forward based on eyewitness testimony. 9 people testified in court that Davis was the shooter. That was enough. In 1991, Davis was convicted of murder and sentenced to death. But the truth was far murkier than it seemed. The cracks in the case. Years after the conviction, the case began to unravel. Between 2003 and 2007, 7 out of the 9 eyewitnesses recanted their testimony. Some said they were threatened or pressured by police during interrogation. One said, "They told me to say what they wanted or I'd go to jail." Another man, Sylvester Red Coles, had initially pointed the finger at Davis. But Coles was the last person seen arguing with the victim that night. Several witnesses later claimed it was Coles, not Davis, who pulled the trigger. Despite these doubts, appeals courts refused to grant a new trial. Why? Because legally, recantations are considered unreliable, and the court said there wasn't clear proof that the original trial had been unfair. World takes notice. As Davis's execution date approached, his case gained global attention. Amnesty International called it a catastrophic failure of justice. Pope Benedict XVI, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Jimmy Carter, and even former FBI Director William Sessions spoke out. The European Union filed diplomatic protests. Hundreds of thousands signed petitions. Protesters rallied across the U.S., from Georgia to Washington, D.C., holding up signs. "I am Troy Davis." Even the U.S. Supreme Court got involved, a rare move in death penalty cases. In 2009, they ordered a federal judge in Georgia to review new evidence and determine if Davis could prove his innocence. Final legal battle. That review hearing in 2010 was Troy Davis's last chance. But the burden of proof was nearly impossible. He had to prove his innocence clearly and convincingly, not just reasonable doubt, absolute clarity. Despite the recanted testimonies, alternative suspect allegations, and absence of physical evidence, the judge ruled Davis had not met the burden. His execution was back on. The execution, September 21st, 2011, Georgia Diagnostic and Classification Prison. Outside the prison, hundreds stood in candlelight vigil. Inside, Troy Davis was strapped to the gurney. His final words were calm, yet powerful. "I did not kill your son, your father, your brother. I am innocent. May God bless your souls. I am sorry for your loss, but I'm not the one who did it." At 10:53 p.m., after 4 hours of final appeals and delays, Troy Davis was executed by lethal injection. He was 42 years old. What if they got it wrong? Even today, the Troy Davis case remains one of the most controversial executions in modern U.S. history. Supporters say he was a victim of a flawed legal system, one that prioritizes procedure over truth and fails to correct its own errors, even when a life is on the line. Opponents argue the courts reviewed the case multiple times, that justice was served, but the question still haunts America's conscience. What if the state of Georgia executed an innocent man? In a system where death is final, doubt must matter. But in the case of Troy Davis, it may have come too late. This was the story of Troy Anthony Davis, a name that may forever symbolize a broken balance between justice and certainty.